Guys, we make fun of Xbox so much, which is understandable considering they have not had a single game in 20 years at this point. But honestly, PlayStation is just so horrible. If this keeps up, in less than 5 years, we're gonna be paying like $200 a subscription service to PlayStation, and games are gonna be like 10 million each. It's getting out of control how much PlayStation is just completely stopping us, the users, the gamers, the consumers, into the ground with every decision that they make.
Digital PlayStation games cost 47% more than physical copies. And that's not a glitch, it is something that is by design. And yes, that figure completely shocked me as well. I did not think it would be that. Now, we'll get to its source soon, but here's what matters for today's story. PlayStation.
Am I the only one not shocked? Am I the only one who figured out? No, of course not, Billiard. What are you talking about? Most of us has already figured out that there's no reason for a digital, non-physical item to cost this much in the first place. Again, I think that currently the price of AAA games should be $30. Maybe 40 in rare exceptions, okay? The Outer Worlds 2 just dropped their price from $90 to just 70, boys. Be happy. Or from 90 to 80, I don't remember which one. Oh, but it's an absolute joke. But PlayStation just keeps on doing it.
PlayStation just paid $7.8 million to settle just one lawsuit about this, but more have kept coming. Now, consumers and regulators in 5 countries are attacking what they call the Sony tax. Essentially, they're targeting PlayStation's walled garden, the one that restricts where you can buy digital games. And the thing is, it's not like this for other big platforms. It's not like this for Xbox. It's not like this for Nintendo. And these consumer groups think that this restriction means you are paying way more for games than you should. So they're taking PlayStation to court. And PlayStation is taking these challenges seriously. In December of last year, they paid out millions to American gamers. And that is just to make one lawsuit go away. But unfortunately for Sony, these lawsuits keep multiplying. PS4 was winding down, the PS5 was gearing up for release, and PlayStation sent out a memo to all legitimate retail stores. And the message was clear: no more digital codes for game sales. Now, you could still buy PSN cards, right, to load up your PSN store account with currency, but you could not buy a digital copy of a game anywhere except from PlayStation's own store. This would mean that in a physical store, you can only buy a physical game disc. And with this one decision, what Sony did is create a walled garden, or at the very least, make the one that they sort of had way stronger. And this is one that creates very specific market conditions. So here's how it works for physical PlayStation games. Regular market rules apply. You can purchase them directly from PlayStation, or you can buy from a third party. PlayStation may not do a discount that often. Would they really have an incentive to?
PlayStation never does discounts almost for anything, I think.
But what about third parties? Well, they want to get rid of stock. They want to get more sales. So they'll compete against the other stores. And what that means is the games that they carry will decrease in price over time. The market will evolve, and it will essentially discover the fair market value for games far, far, far faster because of this lovely thing called competition. That's good for me, it's good for you. But with digital games, with
True, so far, very true.
Sony's rules, it's a bit of a different story. Now, digital makes up more than 2/3 of PlayStation's market releases in Europe in 2024, and remember, they're only available directly from PlayStation. That means that market pressures evaporate, consumer options evaporate, they vanish, they do not exist. And this is a problem that actually doesn't exist on Switch, Xbox, or even PC. Even in principle, those platforms allow...
That is true. I never actually considered that PlayStation is gonna get hit by, and, well, effectively, this is a monopoly claim. This is a monopoly claim.
For alternatives, but not PlayStation. And it's all because of that one 2019 change. Both consumers and regulators are kind of furious about the decision, and the most recent expression of that fury is this whole thing where people are calling it the Sony tax. So to start, we've got to go to...
God, first we had the Concord tax, now it's the Sony tax. Oh, the taxes never end, boys.
The Netherlands. There's another fun thing going on. Vercel's V0 and every...
No.
A Dutch consumer group that I'm just going to call SM&C because it's far easier than saying their full name, and they
Seaman and C? Okay.
believe something rather striking, and they've basically pressed ahead with a class action lawsuit about it. Now, they think that 1.7 million Dutch PlayStation gamers are paying more money than they should, way more than gamers on other platforms are, and in their words, this is consumers paying the Sony tax. So here's what they did. They examined retail pricing for the 100 best-selling PS4 and PS5 titles, and what they found was kind of damning. The digital versions, on average, were 47% more expensive than the physical versions. That's quite insane. That's nearly half again as expensive. But then they found something else as well.
Is this because so many games are just absolute woke slop nowadays? Is this that effect? Where you know, Concord comes out and then a brick and mortar store sells it for 3 cents because no one's gonna buy it anyway? Is this how this goes? Is like, for example, Dragon Age Railguard when it came out. And yes, that is an Xbox title, but I'm pretty sure that the same applies to Sony, like 141. When Dragon Age Railguard came out, physical stores that got physical versions of the game, which is still a code, mind you, they were selling it at like a 50% discount, like day 3 or something like that, because no one was buying that garbage. I wondered if this is this situation, that this is just because there's so many slop woke garbage games out there.
Sony are benefiting far more from these digital games, which, if you've been following this channel, really shouldn't be a surprise. They make, in at least their estimation, double the margin on digital sales.
Anyone remember when Sony did that ad to spite Xbox about how you share games? Well, it doesn't seem like that's any longer gonna be a thing.
Versus physical sales. So that's double the profit for the very same game. So essentially, in SM&C's framing, this reveals Sony's true motive, that their decision to restrict the digital sales, which of course they did in 2019, and which SM&C frames as being an artificial thing, that it's basically just something that Sony did to keep the prices high. And obviously, they're reaping benefits. Now, their core claim is not just that this is a good
I honestly can't wait for Sony to just die off.
business model, right? It's that it's a business model.
Sony, listen, I was just joking. Please do not target my house with a rocket, because Sony's real money comes from defense contracts spendings. The more you know.
That breaks Dutch law and breaks European law, specifically consumer law. And that would mean that we are the prime victim. But there is another victim in their mind. Developers. Basically, SM&C say that they've lost their commercial freedom of movement. Basically, that they can't sell PlayStation games through other channels anymore, which, of course, is great for PlayStation, but probably isn't great for overall sales quantities. So therefore, it's bad for developers on the whole. So overall, I'd say this sounds like a noble enough goal on both fronts, right? More choice for devs, more choice for consumers, and
honestly, anything just slaps PlayStation sounds good to me at this point.
Market that is actually able to do price discovery because there's legitimate competition. Before this, legal hurdles remain, and a judge will decide later this year whether the case can proceed. But if all this stuff sounds kind of familiar, well, there's actually a reason for that. And it's that Sony's walled garden is under siege in many, many more regions, not just the Netherlands. December 2024 brought a major development in this case. That's because Sony settled a US-based civil lawsuit for $7.28 million. That's a fair amount of dollars, but it is going between 4 million lawsuit members, so nobody's going to be getting particularly rich off this. And in typical American fashion, this was a civil case. It essentially focused on getting money for consumers through regular legal action, and of course, you know, some money for the law firms. But elsewhere in the world, the approach is fundamentally different, and this is what could actually impact a lot of us. Basically, regulators and anti-competition authorities are stepping in loads of places. Take Portugal for one. Back in August 2023, a consumer group filed their own case. It was on anti-competition grounds, basically the same core issues, and broadly these consumer cases are about making things right. The things that can go far further, though, are the regulatory efforts, right? Because obviously, regulators can hold a big old stick. That's where we get to Poland. So Poland's regulator made waves this May. They announced an investigation into anti-competitive practices, and they were not messing around, because they'd already inspected PlayStation's headquarters in Poland. You might be wondering then, what were they even looking for? Well, they were looking for evidence.
Crack, cocaine, Baby oil, probably at this point.
The PlayStation had been, quote, applying restrictions on the sale of games and ancillary content on competing platforms or online stores. Which sounds exactly like the 2019 decision. And if the regulator agrees, the consequences are severe here. And by severe, I mean PlayStation facing a fine of up to 10% of their annual earnings. Not 10% of their annual profit, and not just in Poland, no, 10% of annual earnings, which is huge. But of all the countries, it's actually the UK that's the furthest along here. And we've covered this one before. Consumer rights groups pushed their case forward and they won a fairly crucial victory. The UK's competition.
The UK actually doing something useful? Ain't no way. This is some kind of hell freezing over type of thing.
An appeal tribunal then gave explicit permission to proceed. PlayStation fought damn hard to stop it. PlayStation failed. Now that case is going ahead, and it's collecting evidence, and the trial is going to start on the 2nd of March 2026. That's a fair bit off, but it truly could change the state of things. And also think about the timing, because that's when PlayStation will be transitioning between console generations, and they'll be doing that while facing legal challenges that could foundationally reshape their whole business model. It's important for you to understand through this that these legal actions are happening in a context, and the context is that PlayStation made this choice when they already dominated the market, and the stats certainly do not show.
That's actually true. Oh no! Xbox literally giving up on gaming. And yes, I'm saying gaming here before someone that's mad that's an Xbox fanboy says, oh no, they did not give up on gaming. Bro, Xbox literally handed the keys to the kingdom over to PlayStation, and there's no one to compete with PlayStation. The Steam Deck doesn't exist, the handheld devices suck dick, and, you know, that's pretty much it. PlayStation has a monopoly, without question. So, there's a lot of things. So, now anytime that PlayStation decides to increase the prices, well, they're gonna get probably hit by so many lawsuits because, well, you're a monopoly. You can't really do that, buddy. Yeah, interesting. Kind of hilarious, actually.
That their grip is loosening. Like, they're just getting stronger and stronger, and right now, PlayStation consoles command 45% of the global market. Remember, that 45% includes all of the other consoles, things like your Switch, which is obviously massive, and this is across all generations, so they are nearly half of all console gaming. Now,
yeah, and if you're thinking, oh, Xbox is... No, fuck Xbox. It's not even close to 40% any longer.
Digital market's importance, of course, only keeps on growing, and we've seen stats. I mean, even just look at the hardware trends. By October 2024, 18% of PS5 hardware sold was digital only. Obviously, the PS5 Pro takes that even further, where it doesn't have a disk drive built in. And sure, I don't think anyone is saying the PS5 Pro, like, suddenly changed things for digital, like some sort of massive shift, but what it is, a signal of direction, and we see this from all of the companies. But the thing is that hardware only tells part of the story here. You see, the games themselves have gone digital.
You see, the thing is, whenever I hear these statistics, I honestly don't believe them. I'm not gonna lie, I just don't believe them. It's like, wait. So, you're telling me, on PlayStation and Xbox, aka the casual gamer spaces, you know, those ones, people buy games still en masse most of the time in physical form? Bro, there ain't no way, buddy. Ain't no way. I refuse to believe that. I just refuse to believe that.
It doesn't matter if there's a disk drive, if there's no disk to put in it. So more than 2/3 of releases are digital only now. This is across the whole industry. So obviously, when there's no physical release, your disk drive really is just a decoration. It does not matter. And for those digital games, you can
40%,
only buy
but that's still too much. If I had to give a percent to how much is physical versus digital at this point, I would say it's 20-90. 10% physical, 90% digital. I don't understand who's buying all these non-digital goods. I just don't. I really just don't. I don't know anyone personally who's doing that. I don't know anyone who's talking about that. I just don't.
from the PlayStation Store. That's where the developer has got less pressure to drop prices, and of course where PlayStation benefits regardless. It's as we look forward to the next console generation that the
Oh,
ramifications
this
of
is
all
the
this
thing I was
kind of
talking
just
about.
starts to crystallize
Sharing
in your
games.
mind. What we overall see is that physical game sales are just becoming a rarity, like a novelty, a little bit more like vinyl in the music industry, where they're more just specific genres or things that are for like collector fans. And sure, mass market single player games like Hogwarts Legacy still do get discs. Family games get discs, but everything else is digital only. And of course, whoever controls the digital storefront, well, that actually will be the real question, right? Like literally, who will control the digital storefront? And that's going to directly impact the health of the medium. Now, maybe you think that PlayStation has every right to control their platform, to decide who sells games for their system.
I have all the rights to hate PlayStation. That's the real deal here.
That is actually a valid position to hold, right? I'm not trying to directly kill that. But what I am doing is talking about power balances and talking about scrutiny. And what all this stuff represents is scrutiny. And I think that scrutiny could be good. Now, there's obviously the case to make that, hey,
all the games that we saw, some of these are just dead on arrival, by the way. Ghost of Tsushima, Assassin's Creed, Shadows, Marathon. Oh my god, what is this? This is the PlayStation lineup of games? Holy fucking shit. It's such a joke! And they're never gonna give you a discount on this garbage. It's such a joke. I mean, PlayStations and consoles in general are just such jokes, I can't.
This could really hurt the business models of these companies, that could then trickle down to, hurt the industry, which would then hurt consumer choice. That's the sort of argument you'll probably see PlayStation make if they were trying to defend themselves. But the reason why this kind of matters is that if courts legally approve PlayStation's approach, that will set a precedent. And that would then
Horizon 100% gay.
mean that there'd be nothing from stopping Nintendo restricting off-platform sales. Xbox also doing the same. And even Steam could reconsider if management gets to decide if they want a bigger cut. All of this stuff, all of this market stuff that actually impacts the basic unit economics of gaming. And if Valve were able to go down a dark timeline, then the more open PC market could kind of close. That'll mean that game prices will keep climbing, that hardware will cost more, that everything will cost.
Again, I can't wait for the wave of companies closing because they decide to sell their slop at $80. Again, Outer Worlds 2 is going to be the first of that kind. They already dropped the price by $10. But I fucking love when mouth breathers, when a game is $79.99, say, "Oh, it's not $80, it's $70." Just stop and Minecraft yourself, okay? I'm not even gonna deal with your stupidity.
More. Now, at least for my opinion, it does look like PlayStation's 2019 move to lock down the digital stuff. I think that was pretty clear. And whenever companies can make decisions that eliminate competition and keep prices artificially high, what I'm at least saying is they deserve scrutiny. We should take a look. Relevant bodies should take a look. They should face challenges. Because that 47% difference is not abstract. That is real money from real people. Many millions of those people. And it is what is being called the Sony tax. And perhaps if fewer middlemen dollars are going into Sony's pocket, then guess what?
Bro, the Concord tax didn't even end and we have another tax? It's insane.
Those dollars are staying in your pocket and you can go and buy more video games with them, which perhaps would be good for the industry overall. Can't say what will happen. I can't predict the future.
Well, yeah, we don't know, but if PlayStation tries to make or capitalize off on the monopoly, they're gonna get sued out of fucking oblivion. Because keep in mind, if you're a company that's doing that, for example, from Europe, in Europe, that's different because Europe wants to keep you around. But if you're a company like, for example, Sony, that's in Japan, and then you do it, well, you can get sued in Europe, you can get sued in the USA, Australia probably is going to chip in, and so on. Because none of these places give a shit about these companies because they don't exist in their jurisdiction. So it's different. The reason why, for example, undisclosed experimental roots and mixture companies in America get on slaps while they're making billions, okay? The reason why that happens when something bad is found out is because America wants to keep them around. This is the problem of all of these companies. Every single country does not want to actually damage these companies that are making money for them. So they allow them to screw over the customers. In some cases, literally murdered them. And it's all fine. It's just a slap on the wrist because you made money. But I mean, if you're a country from different place, I mean, good fucking luck. You're gonna get sued. And so that's Sony's problem. They're Japanese. It's kind of hilarious, but that's how these things play out, boys. It is what it is. Anyway, that was Billion News. 10 out of 10. Bye.